Hello and welcome to Monday Morning Magic, where I talk about anything that I want to talk about as long as it's magic related every Monday morning. So, this week for Monday morning, I want to talk about one of my favorite commander decks that I've been slowly whittling away at and building recently. I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about it since there was a little bit of stir when the Secret Lair itself dropped. Some speculation on whether it would be CEDH playable, whether it would be fun to play in a casual setting, all of that. I haven't seen a whole lot of people build it. I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about it. Maybe I'm not in the right circles. So it has been a fun journey slash adventure, just kind of doing my own research, figuring it out, and testing and building it myself. So some of you may know who I'm alluding to. I don't know if I've mentioned it in a previous video, but we'll jump right into it. Today I want to talk about Shadow the Hedgehog. So Shadow is really interesting. For me, he kind of sits in this weird place of like at a casual low power to high power level. He doesn't do a whole lot for a theme or like a character building. I have a couple of commander decks, some that I've talked about. Krenko Mob Boss, for example. He's a very popular top, I think he's number 4 most popular commander to build on EDHREC, for example. He's got a theme. You tap him, you make a million goblins. That's what you do. So then you can create stuff to make goblins. Shadow doesn't really have a theme like that. He does, but it's a lot harder to make happen. So if you don't know what Shadow does, he is a 2 black, 2 red. So swamp, swamp, mountain, mountain. Legendary creature, Hedgehog Mercenary. He is a 4/2. He has haste, and he says whenever Shadow the Hedgehog or another creature you control with flash or haste dies, draw a card. And then he has chaos control, which means each spell you cast has split second if mana from an artifact was spent to cast it. Split second means as long as it's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. So there's some speculation about whether he would be CEDH playable. I have one token for this deck. It is a treasure token. And by treasure token, I mean it is the 4-star Dragon Ball. 2-star Dragon Ball, excuse me. Thought that was cool. Had that laying around. Shadow exists in this weird pocket of you can definitely build a deck with a bunch of haste and flash creatures, which there are plenty in here, and try and do this very aggressive flash and haste combat damage thing. But the fact that Shadow is 2 black and 2 red, it's a really awkward casting cost. So it's hard to get him out early enough that like my 1-drop haste goblins are gonna draw me a card. On top of that, each of his spells being able to have split second as long as an artifact mana was used to cast that spell falls into this pocket of like that sounds like it would be really good. And it is. It does have its opportunities, but I believe it's one of those commanders that benefits a lot from playing at a higher level. The more, I don't want to say competitive, but if I cast spells with split second, meaning they can't be countered, if I'm playing a bracket 3 deck and nobody at the table is playing blue, it kind of doesn't matter. in a casual setting, at least within several play groups that I've played with, if we're gonna approach it casually, I'm not running the most optimal counter spells. There's no Force of Wills. There's none of these free kind of counter, even stuff like Deflecting Swat. You're just not playing those casually. So I can throw 100 mana rocks in here and go, okay, I'm going to cast my Goldspan Dragon with Split Second so you can't counter it. Nobody was going to counter it anyways, at least in my experience. So really that kind of idea benefits from a bracket 5 competitive level where it is really important that your spells have Split Second so that you can resolve an ad nauseum at instant speed, essentially. I shouldn't say at instant speed. You can instantly resolve an ad nauseum. Or, I'm going to tap a Mox Opal or even a Charcoal Diamond for black and cast Necropotence that nobody can interact with. It's very important, but from a casual standpoint, I'm not playing those big game changers. The most that I can do, I won't say the most. You have weaker spells in general, so you're not incentivized to make those uncounterable. Nobody was going to counter them anyways. So, that being said, that long rant in mind. My personal shadow list is around a 4 and I would say it's upper bracket 4. Not quite a 5, but I'm trying to do this turbo idea. So let me show you a couple of the things that you can do. One of the main things I think that this deck is really good at, and kind of what you want to go for, is any of your infinite sacrifice loops. So Gravecrawler combos with something like a Phyrexian Altar. Of course, now I can't find my Phyrexian Altar, but as long as I control another zombie, you could do this with Warren Soul Trader as well. Let's use Warren Soul Trader because that is a zombie goblin wizard. So I have my zombie on the field. Gravecrawler, if you don't know, is a 1 black zombie creature. This creature can't block. You may cast this card from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. It's a 2/1. We don't really care about all that. What's important is you can cast it from your graveyard for a swamp as long as you control a zombie. So Warren Soul Trader, 2 generic and a black. You can pay a life and sack a creature to create a treasure token. So I can play Gravecrawler and Warren Soul Trader. I can pay a life and sack Gravecrawler to create a treasure. This is my treasure. And Gravecrawler will now be in my graveyard. I can crack the treasure for a black to summon Gravecrawler. I can pay a life, sack Gravecrawler for a treasure, and I can do this for as much as I have life, essentially. So if you combo that with something like a Zulaport Cutthroat, for example, or a Bloodthirsty Artist, I think is what it's called. There's Zulaport Cutthroat. I don't remember the vampire's name. So we'll use Zulaport. Anything that says when a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life, is what we're looking for. So Zulaport Cutthroat is a great one. 1 and a black. Whenever he or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life, and you gain a life. So this is on the battlefield. This is a constant. If I have these guys, I'm going to sack the Gravecrawler to Warren Soul Trader, paying a life for a treasure. My Zulaport Cutthroat will deal a damage to everybody at the table, and I will gain a life. So I'm back at 40. If I crack the treasure and play the Gravecrawler, I can sack the Gravecrawler for a treasure, going down to 39 life. The Zulaport Cutthroat will deal damage to everybody, and I'll go back up a life to 40. So my main goal is to look for one of these sack outlets. And this is the main loop that you really want. What's nice about this, because this is kind of what I would say standard Gravecrawler loop. This isn't groundbreaking news. People use this kind of loop for Phyrexian Altar as another one, where you can sack a creature for one of any color. I'll sack the Gravecrawler to my Phyrexian Altar. Let me see if I can find that. Here it is. I knew I had it somewhere. So yeah, sack a creature, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for 3. So, same thing. The only stipulation is Gravecrawler can only be summoned from a graveyard if you control a zombie. I believe there are, I have other zombies in this deck, so if you do a Phyrexian Altar, you need to have a zombie. Or even if it's the Warren Soul Trader, if you don't have, I think Bloodthirsty Artist just deals the damage, doesn't gain you any life. If you have that on the field, that's your zombie. So there is one stipulation if you use Phyrexian Altar. But that's an example. Sorry, I got sidetracked. This isn't groundbreaking. People do this. We've been known about this. Shadow says whenever a creature with haste or flash dies, draw a card. So there's another element to this. We have cards in here like Anger, like what's it called? Mass Hysteria. Here it is. So Mass Hysteria gives all creatures haste for 1 red. So obviously you don't want your opponents to have haste all the time, but if I'm getting ready to do this combo, if I know that I have, let's say I have Warren Soul Trader on the field, I know that I'm going to try and play Gravecrawler, I can have Mass Hysteria enter the battlefield first. I'm going to play Mass Hysteria, I'm going to give everybody haste, play my Gravecrawler, sack it, create this loop. Everybody's going to lose a life, as much life as I have, but I'm also going to draw a card every single time I do it. So that's 1 damage, that's 2 damage, that's 3 damage, that's 4 damage, that's 5. Like I'm just going to churn through my deck. If you can get that going, eventually discard your whole library. You have options like Underworld Breach, where now you have access to essentially your entire library, because you're churning through your deck, and that's kind of what Shadow does a really good job at. Excuse me. By doing this kind of Rakdos-y idea, and Mayhem Devil is in here somewhere. There he is, over at the top. Mayhem Devil, 1 a black and a red. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. So you're taking these sack loops and you're just fleshing them out. Just add another thing to them. I'm going to ping on, not only am I going to deal a damage to every player with Gravecrawler, with Zulaport Cutthroat, now I'm going to draw a card from my Shadow trigger, and I'm going to ping off every creature using Mayhem Devil. So the problem with this is that I'm sort of building up a pillow fort kind of thing where got this main idea, now we're going to make it better, and we're going to make it better, and we're going to make it better. I have plenty of rituals in here, dark ritual, pyretic ritual, stuff like that, so I can churn out shadow faster, so I can churn out these cards faster. You know, the dream is a turn 1 dark ritual into necropotence, into dump 30 life. But it's a lot of cards. Towards the beginning of this video, I was talking about how it kind of has a home in bracket 5 CEDH because of the nature of how the card is played and the nature of how your opponents react. But if we're going up against something like Rogsai, this established turbo Grixis deck, where it's just turbo Rakdos but with blue, so it's automatically better. Getting this turbo Rakdos pinging idea is really hard because Shadow doesn't necessarily lean into that a whole lot. I know cards like Ob Nixilis do well because of a similar idea, but instead of 2 card combos, 3 card combos, 4, I'm looking at 3, 4, and 5 card combos, where my main combo, if I get Warren Soul Trader and Gravecrawler, I need Zulaport, I need Bloodthirsty Artist, I need one of the new insects I'm looking at, I forgot his name. But I just need more cards. And usually that's not a big deal because with Shadow I can churn through my deck at a healthy rate, but it's a lot. I have cards like Bloodghast I pulled out already. Vampire Spirit with a landfall trigger. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Bloodghast from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I can at least get something to retain. Squee, the Immortal, is in here if I need to play Squee from exile or the graveyard, but it's not optimal. You want Gravecrawler kind of thing. Buried Alive and Entomb, cards like that help me put Anger in my graveyard. Anger says as long as it's in your graveyard, all creatures you control have haste. And then just cards like Corrupted Conviction. Sack a creature, draw 2 cards. I'm just trying to draw through until I can find what I need. I've recently tried playing cards like Loyal Apprentice, and I'm trying out Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, as well as, I think it's, what is that card called? Phyrexian something. It's an artifact. Urabrask's Forge is in the same vein, where you are, focus. I'm making tokens that have haste. I'm making tokens that are to be sacrificed at the end of my turn. So if I can't get this loop out, at the very least, I'm making tokens to be sacrificed. And then my goal is to crack an Ad Nauseam, get my Underworld Breach out, and try and drain my opponents the old-fashioned way. But if I build out this sack combo and that combo gets countered, I'm kind of dead in the water, unfortunately. So, long story short, I've been having a lot of fun playing Shadow. It's one of my favorite decks right now. I think it's very important to talk about. But it definitely lives in a weird area. I don't know if anybody of you guys or anybody watching, maybe you personally, have played Shadow, tried it out. I'm a big Sonic fan. I was really excited when the Sonic Secret came out. I was really excited to get Shadow rolling, but in practicality, I think either I'm missing something or he's missing something. So, what are you gonna do, right? Yeah, I think that's the main premise of the deck. I don't think I'm missing anything really important going over. Cards like Jessica's Will, same kind of turbo idea. There's a lot of tutors because you really, so you need that combo. Yeah, that's the main idea. Create a sack outlet, get some cards that benefit off of it. Like I have one of my favorite cards in Magic is Doomsday. I played Glarb for a while, and I've actually been thinking about putting Glarb back together. But he's a big Doomsday. I was playing Doomsday piles with Glarb, just looking for Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Console, stuff like that. So, if Plan Z goes wrong and everything that I own gets countered, I'm going to Doomsday. I'm going to put Gravecrawler. I'm going to put my sack outlet, and I'm going to put Mayhem Devil on my library, and I'm going to hope for the best. And the nice thing, too, if you get in a situation like that, where, let's say I Doomsday pile, normally with Shadow, you'll just draw yourself out. Oh, I'm going to sack you can only sack your Gravecrawler 5 times. You have 5 cards in your library before you draw one and lose. You can always just get to the bottom and then sack. Well, you'll need 1 card left, and then you can sacrifice Shadow, draw your last card, and then try and force something. I don't remember if Doomsday exiles those cards, and then maybe you could play those from an Underworld Breach. I don't remember that interaction. You might have to correct me in the comments, but it has been very fun. I see that fundamentally is flawed, so I don't imagine that people are going to start picking up Shadow and playing him, especially with some of the success that Atali has had recently. Just objectively a better turbo commander. But I think it's a good meta to build turbo right now. So I thought I would give it a try. Maybe I'll make a short or something going through it. Yeah. I think that's all I have to say about Shadow. All I wanted to say about Shadow, at least. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, go ahead and subscribe for me. Helps out a whole lot. I'm trying to grow a little bit. It's been taking me a while, and I've been very busy recently with work and stuff, but I want to do this more, so I'm going to make an effort to do it for the content and for the love of Magic, I guess. So, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next Monday.